will actually give society and to basically keep on updating and upgrading what we were taught. So Sammy, thank you for the opportunity as well. I'm really honored and humbled because you know, when we're growing up now, Sammy, we didn't get this kind of opportunities. We had to go and dig deep for information and research all the things that we got and had to suffer things firsthand to learn. But thank God for technology and for your good heart. So again, I commend you. And I think all of you owe him a very big and deep well of thanks for what he's doing. So like my profile, thank you for the profile, kind of head swelling, but one thing I know that has taught me over the years, every
Excuse me, sir. Please, a minute, sir. Mr. John Peters, please, can you mute your mic? Thank you. John Peters, please mute your mic. You're keeping our lecturers waiting.
Chimama, sorry, Mr. Aiyepeku, my deepest apologies. Chimama, you don't need to wait for the class captain to say that. You know what to do from your end. Mr. Aiyepeku, deepest apologies.
Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, so thank as my summarized profile says, but there's one thing I know: every experience you learn prepares you for the next step or the next thing or next position that you take, and it's up to you to pick up the learning or not. And what you don't pick up will tell on you later, and what you do pick up will reflect on you later as well. So I want to, well, I don't know what format has been used exactly, but I've learned that storytelling is about the most effective way of passing information and deriving lessons from there. The topic of today's topic is entrepreneurship, sports, and media, right, Sammy? So funny enough, in my life so far, all my experiences, or most of my experiences, apart from the one of school where I got a degree in chemical engineering, are centered around entrepreneurship, sports, and media. And I became an entrepreneur from a very young age. One thing I've also learned is that you can simplify all these big words. Entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship for me is simple. It's spotting an opportunity or a gap, creating a solution or a product or a service that will plug that gap, putting in the sacrifice and hard work to fine-tune the product and delivery of the service, and then, of course, working hard to make it better and then reaping your profits or your loss. Because there are times when we make losses from ventures that we take. In fact, I'm sure all of us, well, I will tell you that I've made losses from many ventures, and from those losses, I've learned new things. In fact, I've seen most of the time that adversity has been my greatest teacher. So I will encourage you not to relent when it comes to when you face adversity, because really, without adversity, entrepreneurs don't really make it. That's what toughens us. And if you don't have the aggression, the passion to drive after the thing that you believe in, then you're not ready to be an entrepreneur. So like I said, yeah, I'm a chemical engineer. I did banking as well, which is where I met Sammy, and we shared some very unique experiences. But here we are today in the sports world and doing other things as well. So like I said, I'll share three different stories that I think will reflect the title that we are on about today. One, I said I've been an entrepreneur since I was a child, and truly, when I share my first story, you'll see what I'm talking about. In 1977, Nigeria played Egypt in the World Cup qualifier, and it was a 4-0 victory. Shegodeva scored 2 goals that day, and so I watched the game with my father on TV because we lived in Ibadan. The match was played in the National Stadium in Lagos. Can we all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. We do, sir.
Okay, just to confirm. Okay, yeah. And during that match, like I said, everybody scored 2 goals. So my father and I watched together. And so I got to school on Monday morning, primary school, and I was excitedly sharing about the match with my colleagues, and this goal, this or that, did that. In fact, by that time already, all my t-shirts had 700 by me written on it. So I was one of the first guys to be writing names on jerseys. Anyway, so I got to school sharing, and nobody was responding to me. And I wondered what happened was that in my whole class, I think about 25 or 26 in the class, only me had watched the game. So I was like, nobody watched the game. Don't forget, in those days, there was no DSTV or multiple stations. In Ibadan, then it was only NTA, but I think, and W1, there was only one station. And every station started at 4 o'clock or 4:30. And unfortunately for everybody else, my own father liked football and he allowed me to watch with them. But the other ones whose fathers loved football, didn't allow them watch. It was go and do your homework or go and read. So luckily, my father allowed me to watch. And so I was the only one in the class. And one of only about 2 or 3 that watched the match in the whole arm of my class. Then I think we were about 4 arms of 25, 26 children in each class. Okay. Anyway, so when I saw that, as I picked up a piece of paper, I knew how to draw. So again, that I'm telling you something, entrepreneurship, something must be inside of you that you want to give out, or you have recognized a need or identified a need that you want to plug. So I just started drawing. So I drew I think 2 of the goals, and then the guys next to me noticed that I had drawn the goals and said, can you look at it? I showed him. So they passed my paper around, and one person just said, can I buy the drawing for 5 kobo? I'm like, 5 kobo for what I just drew now? I said, of course. I sold the drawing at 5 kobo and pocketed my 5 kobo. Now, in those days, don't forget, as a 9-10-year-old, comics were 20 kobo in those days. Annuals were 1 naira 20 kobo. So I had 5 kobo and had only 50 kobo less to get the latest Raw of the Rovers or Tiger and Scotcher. I don't know who knows what all those products are. That was what we used to read in those days, comics. Anyway, so I got home that night and I was thinking. I just went to my books, got a new exercise book, tore off the cover, and then started reproducing all 4 goals of that match as many times as I could. Don't forget, there was no photocopy machine, there are no computers, so all I could do was keep reproducing the drawings. So I was reproducing the goals over and over and over again for as long as I could till late in the morning. And I took all the ones I'd done, I think about 20 something. I did enough for my class and did some extra. So I had about maybe, let's say 30, let's assume 30, I can't remember the numbers now. I took the 30 to school the next day and again brought it out and said, 5 kobo, people come and buy each sheet. I sold off a copy of what I drew. So 30 kobo times 5, and 30 times 5 kobo, I had 150 kobo to 150 kobo in my hands. Man, I was rich. So I had enough to buy my comics for the week. I had enough to be a superstar. So I realized that there was a need or there was a gap. Man, all my classmates didn't, by before the end of that week, I drew for the entire 4 arms of the classes. So I sold, let's say about 100 and something copies of my drawings showing the 4 goals that were scored by Super Eagles for that day. So you can multiply that. So if you use let's say 25 times 4, that's 100 times 5, that's about 500 naira that I made from just drawing the Super Eagles goals for their match against Egypt, because other people weren't able to watch the match. So isn't that entrepreneurship? Yes, it is. I saw a need, I created I delivered on the service, because what happened was my father used to listen to BBC Sports at 7:15 and midnight every single day. So so by 8 or 8:30, the children had to go to bed. So I went to bed. I set my alarm clock to wake me up by 12:30 after my father had gone to bed. I drew from that time till early hours of the morning, every day, 5 days a week. So from Sunday to Thursday, I always I was always drawing to make sure that I could make the profit that would and That's how I became an entrepreneur. Now, during that whole period, I was always going to the university bookshop. Oh, we grew up in University of Ibadan. So I always went to university bookshop to go and buy my supplies, felt tip colored pencils, colors. I would buy pencils, erasers, and all whatnot I needed to produce my own drawings. Then from there, I graduated to creating my own comics and creating my own stories and all that until I started producing my own comics during the course of the year. So after about a year or towards the end of the third term of that school session, I was just playing football outside and I heard my mother shout, "Sola, Sola." Apparently she was in my room trying to clean my room. I had 3 big, massive drawers. But in 2 of the drawers, I'd filled them with coins for my sales. I didn't even know how much were in the drawers. But after each drawer was so heavy I couldn't open it anymore, I'll just clear out my clothes from the other drawer and then start putting the coins inside. So I'd filled 2 drawers up and only 1 drawer was available for clothes. But I started dropping the coins somewhere up in our attic so that because I didn't know where else to put the money. So my mother had discovered the two drawers and realized, and then saw that there are coins inside. Couldn't open it, called the house help or something. They both opened the drawers and the drawers scattered, filled with coins. So my mother called me and said, and shouted, "You have been stealing." I said, "I'm not stealing, I'm drawing." That's where the money came from. "Where did you get this money?" Of course, she didn't believe me and beat me senseless. and then reported me to my father when he returned from work. And he too, the same thing. Don't forget, my father was a lecturer in University of Ibadan, but yet he didn't listen to me. But they didn't believe me. And eventually, when I now managed to speak, he said I should tell them. So I maintained my story, which was true, that I drew. And I've been drawing for almost a year, and those were the proceeds for my drawings. And I was banned from drawing ever in my life again. And the money was seized. So later that night, as they counted the money, when they finished counting, I heard them say in astonishment that the money I had in those two drawers were more than both their salaries combined for a year. Hello?
Yes, sir.
We are listening.
Can hear you.
Okay, good. But I like hearing reactions. I don't get any reaction, so it's that I'm talking to myself.
Sir, there's a reason why you're not getting any reaction. Some persons might be in noisy areas, so we have a standing house rule. Everybody mutes his or her mic as soon as we're in. But the moment you want a reaction, just ask for it and you'll get it ASAP, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, noted. Yeah, so anyway, so that was how I realized both my parents' salary combined in less than one year. Their salaries for a year had made more than that. Don't forget, I said I was already keeping money up in our attic because I didn't have any other place to put it. Now, isn't that an entrepreneur? Isn't that entrepreneurship?
It is.
And that was that's why I turned 10 years old. So, and what did I do? Like I said, I summarized entrepreneurship. I recognized a gap. I created a service or a product. I delivered, sold it, and I made my profit, long and short. Now, before mid of that year, because I was going so regularly, every week actually, to the university bookshop to replenish my supplies of felt pens and all that, because I was now drawing more and more and more. I was not sleeping during the week from Sunday to Thursday night. I never slept between 12:30 and 6 a.m. every day. So I did the sacrifice. So that's why when I see young people now, a young adult saying they're complaining of hard work, there I was as a 9.5, 10-year-old, already ready to sacrifice to make my profits. And yet people are complaining these days about what they have to do to make it and always looking for shortcuts. But there's no shortcut. If I didn't do what I did, yeah, because even in the middle of that year, because I was going every week to the bookshop, the manager of the bookshop called me one day and said, "You're always coming every week to buy the same things. Why do you use so much?" So I told him what I did, and he was so amazed. And from that day, I never bought biros, pencils, erasers, rulers, anything I needed again from University of Ibadan bookshop. I now became a tester for all their materials. And they gave me my whatever I needed every week free of charge. So I had no more expenses except my time. And likewise, the same thing happens when, as entrepreneurs, when we keep delivering on quality and acceptable or services to our targeted markets, we get breaks. And from those breaks, we can make more profits. And from those, and you can satisfy much more of your clientele base and grow the size of your market or your business. Later that year, I was into that same year as an entrepreneur, as a child entrepreneur. I was listening to the radio or TV, and I had that Federal Savings Bank had opened, just walking distance from my house. And I walked there by myself, opened my own account, because they were encouraging children to come open their accounts. Opened my own account, which I had for years, keeping my own money, because I now realize that if I keep my money in my room, my mother and my father will come and sweep my room and carry all the money. But I had, so I was living like a superstar for the rest of my primary school into my secondary school days. I could buy all the comics I wanted and all that, but I didn't know much about investing money, which is something I think we parents, our parents need to start teaching children nowadays. So that's one story. So you can see, I hope we learned some lessons there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, so that's one story of Sola, the child entrepreneur. Now, later in life, of course, I went on secondary school and all that, and then got into Unilag. Oh, by the way, when they asked me what I need to do, I'd been dreaming of being the biggest comic maker or comic publisher in Nigeria and all that stuff, and in Africa. But of course, by the time I was going to do Jamba and all that, and I told my father what I had to do, he just told me I'm not serious. And basically, they picked and said I must do engineering. I should go and pick whichever engineering I like. So I picked chemical engineering and became an engineer. I didn't work in that for long, entered the bank. And it was on the bank, I'm going to tell you my second story. Now, in 1997 or 98, there was an international course to be held in Kenya. And two of my colleagues were chosen to be part of that course in Kenya. On their way back, their plane crashed off the coast of Cote d'Ivoire. And both of them, with a few other young Nigerian bankers who had gone for that course, were killed. Everybody in the plane were killed because they crashed into the water and all that stuff. And so people are now debating in the bank that what could we do to in memory of their name and to help their young families, because we all just got married maybe a year, but people are just getting married around that time. Anyway, so when nobody gave any strong suggestion, and I suggested, please, how about if we play a football match between the two banks, the major banks who lost staff in that plane crash, and everybody agreed. So of course I led the organizing committee to organize that match. We played the match. It was between us and Citibank, FSB International Bank. Then I was in, and as the match approached, other banks were now asking us, why didn't we involve them? After all, this community of bankers, blah blah blah. So anyway, the match went on successfully. The proceeds we got from the match we gave to the families that we had said before. But the following year, we now made the bigger event. 4 banks now participated and all that. But when only 4 banks participated, again, the story was, why only 4 banks participating? We should have involved other banks. Long and short was, by the 3rd year, we have now expanded the number of banks and also an opportunity. And from there, we now created a bank's competition. And since I was trying to leave the bank, I spoke with the bank's legal advisor and said, since it was me that created this idea, I want to take this idea away from the banks and organize it from outside. I want to be an entrepreneur. And so I got the permission from the bank to take the competition, and I now named it with my partner then, the Nigeria's Bankers Games. I don't know, has anybody heard of Nigeria Bankers Games?
No, sir.
No, sir.
The Nigeria Bankers Games, after I took it over and went out, from 4 banks that year, it now became 17 or 18 banks the following year. And by the 5th year or the 2nd year that we were handling it as an entrepreneur, it grew into Nigeria's only and biggest banking competition all over Nigeria. So banks used to fly their staff to participate in the event over 10 weeks in Lagos. And the advertising and all that, in short, it grew to a mighty franchise. And we were getting a lot of revenue and profits from Nigeria bankers' games. And eventually, it'll be 10 years next year, I sold off my own equity. But what I'm trying to say is that, again, the simple thing I did, I noticed an opportunity, a gap. I created the product or service, which was, first of all, like a charity, but I took it out and made it a business and grew it into the biggest banking competition that's ever been in Nigeria to date. And we made a profit and all that. Now, do we see entrepreneurship in that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What do we see?
I saw a need and an opportunity
Okay.
to make profit from it.
Okay. I ask you, don't we see needs and opportunities now in Nigeria's sports sector? And if we see, what's stopping us from taking advantage of those gaps and those needs? I'm throwing out a question. Do we see opportunities and needs in Nigeria's sports industry? If we see needs,
yes, sir.
Products and services to fill the gaps. Who can answer?
Please, if you want to answer, you can raise your hand so you can be picked up onto talk. Okay, for
Please, sir, you can say something. Repeat the question, sir, please.
I said, don't we see a need or gaps in Nigeria's sports industry today or the media? And if we do see the need or the gap, why aren't we creating services or products to meet those gaps? So is Fortune still raising your hand? And Ashe Lomi, I'm sorry, let me wear my glasses. Ashe Lemi, Owolabi.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Are you raising your hand?
Fortune Bestman. Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I don't see a need because the Nigerian sport is not, sorry to say, attractive, especially the football aspect. In business-wise, Nigerian sports is not very attractive, so I don't see the need.
Okay. Mr. or Miss Owolabi.
Yeah, there is a need indeed. True, the sports in Nigeria is not very attractive, but I think of recent, they've been growing and trying to do better, trying their little, not as much as expected. But the need there is, we observe that fans or people usually don't come to the stadium to watch.
Yeah.
So that's the need. We need to fill that gap by bringing people, doing a lot of adverts, doing a lot of publicity that will attract and then bring people to the stadium. That's one need that needs to be filled.
Excellent. Inem Abasi Gospel. And then I'll continue. Everything on hand. I can see a hand raised.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. I was raising my hand.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. The sport as a whole is, I think, it's one of the highest it's one of the highest opportunity for employment. And looking at sport, there are great needs in Nigeria sporting sector. For instance, people don't go to stadiums to watch match because, number one, there's no security. We look at the English Premier League. Each stand have a set of security personnel. They have a set of stewards that are tending to that stand. That is one opportunity I've seen. Another opportunity I've seen, the social media. You could easily Google something about even the least person playing in the championship and you will see. But most of our Nigerian players don't have image on social media. We only know them maybe if they mention, okay, this person is playing for Kano Pillars, they just mention the name, but we can't have the We don't have the image of that person on social media. We don't have the image of person on the media platform that people can follow, and also at the point used to generate money. That's another aspect I've seen it. Another aspect I've also seen is most of our athletes, I'm talking about sport in general, athletes lack sponsors because there is no proper advertisement and marketing of them to get them sponsors. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. You have you guys said it very well. But the first person who said you don't see a need. So I ask a question. So what are you doing in sports if you are in sports? Now, the reason why I ask that question is because if we don't see, we can't have anything in life. All the things that have been mentioned, security, social media, information, sponsorships, they are all needs. And the greatest thing that we must see, first of all, is from what the first man said about not seeing anything, because Nigeria's sports industry is still very, 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 very virgin, very young, very almost unscratched. And that's why you can list all these basic things or basic social services that are still missing in Nigeria. We don't even know which first team we play for a Nigerian team every week, because every week players are going on trials. So how do you want to base your advertising or your publicity strategy or your media plans around players that the public doesn't even know? So you're right, there are so many needs. The question now is, now we have seen those needs, how do we produce services to address those needs? Let me give you an example. The Nigeria Bankers Games was something that was created totally from scratch. You know, there's a difference between organizing friendly games between 2 banks or 4 banks, which means just 3 matches, semifinals and a final, and creating a competition that will be valuable enough for advertisers and even the banks to continue investing themselves into. Because we had banks who are flying their staff all over Nigeria into Lagos every weekend, from Kano, from Kaduna, from Port Harcourt, from everywhere, name it. Eventually, within 2 years, the Nigeria Bankers Games became one of the factors for many staff's promotions, because we insisted that only bankers will play. Now, let me tell you what went into it. We had to organize matches. We had to get venues. We had to organize security. We had to organize medical facilities, ambulances, doctors on standby, waiting to operate in terms of for emergencies. We had to package our product and sell to agencies so that we could get advertising, and they believe that the value they see, the value of Bankers Games was as we presented it, and then they would also value it that much, and they direct advertising into the event. This event, and because of that, we had to fashion out a product or an event that will benefit us and the mutual benefits beneficial to us and the guys who are and the advertisers, the agencies. How do you do that? That's how we now found a way of elongating the service and the competition from just a couple of weeks to 10 weeks, because we insisted that only bankers should play. And so once we said, for example, that only bankers could play, no mercenaries from outside, the HR departments of every bank had to verify to us that they were actually staff. And once we could prove that to advertisers now knew that their products would get to their target audience and not just potential mercenaries and any man on the street. And we encourage them to have spot checks. That's the advertising agencies, to verify that they were actually meeting their audiences. And as soon, in fact, it was almost like magic. As soon as they recognized that or identified that the people playing were real bankers, oh my goodness, then advertising revenue shot up exponentially, because people will come every week. If there are 8 banks playing every weekend, for example, there are 4 matches, and so that's 8 banks. Minimum of 3 to 5 of the MDs, their GMs, and some of their board used to come to the pitch to come and watch. So, and every year we kept looking for different ways of adding value. Eventually, after only football, we added athletics to it and board games. So from Nigeria Bankers League, how we started, we named it Nigeria Bankers Games, because we now added games. And after a few years, we actually televised the final of the Bankers football final live from Unilag where we held the event. Eventually, we spilled over to Unilag and Yabatech. But we eventually started. We broadcast the final live. We set up camera stands in Unilag. We had Cool FM then running live, not live commentary. They were doing the background on the audience, the background, for about 4 hours. So what I'm saying is this: if you're in an environment and you can't identify where the gaps are, then perhaps you're not supposed to be in that environment. Because every environment, even no matter how developed you think it may be, there's always something more to do. By the time people were using candles and people swore by candle, then electricity and then the bulbs came. By the time when we're all watching 1 or 2 TV stations, and then digital TV has come, and now we can watch anything from all over the world. But at every point in time, you can ask people and say, "Oh, this is the best that we can do. This is the best." By the time we were using the cars we're using had manual gears. Now everybody's using automatic. Now some cars are even driving themselves. Tesla cars are driving themselves. So we need to keep on recognizing and find opportunities. Otherwise, there's something wrong somewhere. And because if you don't recognize opportunities and gaps, then we'll be unable to create the kind of products and services that we are passionate about, or that meets our passion and that can meet the needs of our targeted audience, and then which we can now use as a product to service our needs and the needs of people out there. So I'll go on to my next story, and I hope you understand what I'm talking about. So I'll get on to my next story. It's about media. I'm not sure how Sam really wanted this to go, but I want to let me talk about media. And again, it dovetails into what you said about not seeing a need, and us seeing a need then, as our company then was called Media Vision. Now, the main reason why I left the banking industry, apart from the bankers' games, in fact, the main reason was I wanted to publish. I've always wanted to be a publisher. Remember, I told you that I was a comic publisher as a young guy. I did that all through secondary school, and I made a lot of money from it, But I always went to, and then by the time I left university, I started being on TV as a pundit and all that, radio, and it was the in thing then, so to speak, to criticize government, what they're not doing, the NFF, blah blah blah, and we're quite popular for it, but we're not making any money from it. And by the time I was in the bank, the dominating publication was Complete Sports. I think it still is till now. But Complete Sports forte was in reporting results. Sorry for that noise. Was in reporting results, and we noticed a gap in the way their process was structured. And we thought we could produce another publication that we expected to sell. Now, we knew that we couldn't compete with Complete Sports because we didn't have the kind of pockets or the kind of strength they already established. And so, but we also knew that Nigerians liked analysis based on my experience on TV and all that. And all of us, when we are going to work or something in those days, we branch by the vendors and everybody's discussing the match of the weekend before, or you're talking with your friends and all that. So we said, can't we produce a publication that centers only on analysis? And that's how we developed, my friends and myself and 5 of us developed a paper called The Game. And the game was focused only on analysis. So we picked on the major leagues, La Liga, the English Premiership, Italian football, the German league, the French league. I think it was the 5 major leagues that we picked on, and the Nigerian league. And we created products within the game that we thought will attract people. Don't forget, the core focus was on the analysis. And we decided to create a different paper. We were the first. This you can go and check. We were the first to produce instead of using, first of all, we didn't use newsprint. We decided to use bond paper, which is more expensive. Then we decided to do a color cover and a center spread in color. Okay, so to differentiate us from everybody else. At that time, everybody was doing black and white. The best color they did then was Guardian would make their masthead blue. Complete Sports was red and white and all that. We said that we're going to do full color for the center and for the cover. the cover and the back page of pages of our paper. And so that's how the game was born. And so, so quality of paper and all that meant that we also priced our products at a premium. So when Complete Sports Daily was selling at, I think, 30 naira per copy, we were selling ours at 50 naira, but it was only once a week. So, and meanwhile, to make you, the funny part was that when we put all our money together, we didn't have any money, but we had enough money to just produce the first edition. And so I remember going around then to meet the Nigerian Newspapers Associations and telling them that, look, that we are going to also introduce, we did a lot of things. We want to introduce the fact that when they sell our paper, they are the ones that must pay the money into a designated account. And we went on and on for a couple of weeks to do that. Not their business, blah, blah, blah. But we insisted. And I think that's what everybody is doing today, what we introduced then in 2003. And so we now decided that we said, look, they must pay. Eventually, the head of the Newspaper Association of Nigeria, based in what's it called, in Lagos Island, under that bridge, now somehow just had mercy on me, because I've been coming every day, morning and afternoon. I go and meet the guy because my place of work was very close to their office, and I was working on leaving the bank then. Anyway, so eventually the guy agreed that okay, he now asked me that, so but what if we don't even give you this money back, but the next edition will come? I said it won't come. The guy said he won't come. I said we are not serious. Long and short that we were serious. The guy helped us. We could produce only 6,000 copies of the game, the first edition. It was completely sold out. All the money was paid in for us to the account that we agreed on. And then after they paid in, that same day, within hours, they were asking us for fresh, that didn't have more, that their customers want 500. This one wants 200. In short, we couldn't meet up with the demand of the first one. Not only that, we had decided that we wanted to do a subscription-based paper. So we're treating a regular newspaper like a magazine. And yours truly, I took my product, or the product that we had then, and I was dropping it with guys who we had convinced to be subscribers to pay up front for a year, for 6 months. So I would take it to the places where I used to work. I enter with my suits and tie in those days. But I was going back there in my jeans and to go and develop paper like a vendor, to develop paper until the thing grew. At our peak, we were distributing in 27 states of Nigeria. And sometimes, because my friend, Muminada became my friend, because we used to wonder, how are we doing it? That they who sell their paper 6 days a week, how are we competing with them in terms of numbers? That showed you how heavily our numbers grew, because we designed a totally new product to meet a service that we identified, and we did the sacrifice to produce that, to make that product, and pushed it until we were selling in, I think, 27 states of Nigeria, including the FCT, and we were doing numbers, crazy numbers, and that's where we had formed our product. So we have formed our service, and we grew our company. So again, I've repeated the same procedure that I talked about. Again, we saw a need. We generated the product or service. We got to the product, and we made our money from it. Are we getting me?
Yes, sir.
So what I'm saying in summary is that, look, the opportunities all around us. Depends on what you see or what you allow yourself to see. Again, I give you a different example because I showed you that even during that time, during that time, there was as an existing product that was a champion of the market. But yes, you could produce another product that took money from people's pockets to pay for the value that we developed and sold to everybody to make them see that we had something going for us. So in effect, in our prime, we had the game selling. We had Nigeria Bankers games going on for us. So we're able to marry events in the sports world, use our paper as a driving force for publicity, for advertising, and be able to market a bouquet of products to the agencies and the advertisers who wanted to be sure that their products reached their different target markets. And don't forget, we were running a subscription service, so we are supplying the high end of the market. But people are buying at the vendors, so we could reach the mass. Product was already going on and targeted towards the bankers and the corporate world. And eventually we started, after Nigeria Bankers Games, we did Nigeria Communication Games, we did Nigeria Insurance Games, and at the end of every year, we did a Nigeria Corporate Games, which took the winners of Communication Games, the Bankers Games, the Insurance Games, to play finals together to determine the best corporate entity in sports in Nigeria. And that's what we did. So did you feel me?
Yes, sir.
So you can imagine, so without that experience, I'm now called to Lagos State to come and when Mr. Governor asked me that what is my plan for Lagos State, and I said, I've noticed that the foundations have been destroyed. So my plan is to begin to rebuild foundations, and many things we are doing right now, what we've done. First of all, we, of course, COVID disturbed us, but I started October 2019. COVID came in March 2020. But shortly after that, we decided that, look, we had to do some big things to bring international sports to Lagos. So if you remember, throughout last year, Super Eagles played all their home matches for the World Cup qualifiers and the Nations Cup qualifiers in 2021 in Lagos. That was a strategic move because we went to remind Nigeria and remind corporate sector that Lagos was the best place to activate their products and services, and we achieved that. Number two, even in that, we decided to do something crazy to start it off. We took national teams, the Super Eagles, to go and play their away match in Cotonou by boat. Nobody had done that before. They traveled by boat from Lagos to Cotonou, played their match, and came back also by boat. They were all freaked out. And what were we doing along the line? We marketed the Lagos land along Ilaje and all those places to the players. And I assure you, quite a number of them invested in that. But we have set a precedence. So by the time they were coming to play in Lagos, on our then new lush pitch, we were ready for them. And they had a great time playing in Lagos. Also, we decided that look, we had to reintroduce sports into the school's curriculum. And we worked on that for about 2 years. And I'm proud to say that in July this year, we actually we launched the what is called the Lagos State School Sports Intervention Program. We launched that this year, which is geared first of all at developing capacity of our school mistresses, school games mistresses and games masters, and then put them back into the system. We just finished a program on the 1st of September, the training throughout the summer. To now put them back into the school system and then work on a modernized calendar for school sports in Lagos State. Apart from that, we are building, Mr. Governor commissioned the building of 8 brand new stadia because infrastructure is important to development. I'm saying all this not because I'm saying I'm boasting, but I'm just telling you that, look, there's a trend. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you must be able to see the future. You must be able to recognize opportunity. And that's what has taken me to the point of being an entrepreneur, up to the point of working with government. This is my first time. Oh, well, my second time, more or less, working with government. But I never made my money or developed myself from government. It was always from the private sector because I saw the needs where other people didn't see what the needs were. And I worked on those needs and capitalized and developed the products and services to bring me and the people around me to the point where I developed enough capacity to be recognized, to come and take hold of, as far as I'm concerned, the most important state in Nigeria and develop the sports infrastructure and sports community to where we are today. So I see that I've done about 45 minutes, about 4:46 now. I don't know whether I should stop here. Sammy, and wait for questions, or what's the format? Hello?
Sir, if you need us to ask questions, you could ask us to do that. We will we will raise our hands and ask you questions. But if you want to continue, we are still listening to you.
Okay.
So we are here with you, sir.
Okay, so I'd like to hear questions or opinions or thoughts, so that I think it's important, because that it's a mind. I believe this whole program organized by Sami is to help us to shift our minds to what is possible. So I'd like to hear questions so that I can at least be able to try and share my experience and thoughts or opinions on how I can help to achieve the mindset shift. So please, questions, or opinions, or thoughts.
Okay, sir. So there are people raising their hands to ask questions. Please, if you also have questions, you could raise your hand. If you're in a noisy environment, you can't say something, please, you drop it at the chat box. It will be read out. Thank you very much. Emeka Toye, you can proceed with your question.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Sola.
Afternoon.
And good evening. Good evening, Ada. And speaking about the sports in Nigeria, I think one major factor is concerning the security, because most people will always complain that going to the stadium and sometimes they get harassed or someone come and steal their things or thereabouts. Yes. And secondly, like in Port Harcourt, I know there's this grassroots program usually held in this University of Port Harcourt, the Marseille competition or thereabouts for grassroots football. I think if we want to really improve in sports, we should dig deep into that, concerning even basketball, football, volleyball, and every other thing. And the pitch these students do play, most times they are not even real pitch. Sometimes they play on sand.
Yes.
Maybe they could even develop a mini pitch for them, train them.
Who are they?
Well,
that's the question now. So your question is, you have seen needs and you're wondering if somebody else can develop the solution to those needs, right?
Yes, sir.
So why can't you be the one that develops it?
Well, like maybe I just feel I'm not
monetizing it. Sorry?
Maybe I just feel I'm not in a position now to do.
Why not? Let me give you see, when I left the bank, I had like 2,000 naira in my pocket, in my bank account. And I had only the hard drive of a computer. I didn't have the screen. So in all ways, I didn't have anything. So the question is, when you see a need, you have to think differently. You have to think in a way that you know what the solution is at the end of the day. How do you come back? How do you work from the answer back to the question? So is the factors you need. For example, let me give you an example. When I was much younger, before I entered university, every time we went to play a match, it was already set we were playing as children and secondary school. I developed a way of creating, of lining the pitch. So I knew which ingredients to mix together to burn before my friends come, and I will line the pitch. Did I have paint? I didn't have paint. Did I have money for paint? I didn't have money for paint. But what I saw was an image of playing football under an environment that looked international. So I created it. So it's up to you when you see a need to find how to pull resources together. Okay, let me give you an example for that security thing. When we also did our bankers games, nobody gave us security, but we had to go and get it. So we first of all we held it in Union Lag. You can always find a solution. So we talked to people in Union Lag, t-shirts to wear and stand around the place as many as possible. And what we offered them were just drinks for the day, 2 or 3 drinks throughout the day, so that they can, so that they will not be thirsty. When we start getting small money, we start getting the security of the university, and they start adding policemen. So what I'm saying is, there's always a solution. It may not be the perfect solution to start, but you can do. Nothing is always nothing is ever perfect at the beginning, but you can create the solution or solutions.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Everybody else, welcome. Adejumo, Adekunle, or Fortune, Best Man, I can see your hands raised.
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Let me just answer this. Okay, please go on.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for this enlightening session. Quickly, sir, did you and your team face any setback from the laws prescribing how to establish newspaper in Nigeria when you were setting out to, design that template and have it run in the market? Thank you.
Yes and no. Yes, in producing or publishing the paper, because you have to pay the printer, get paper and all that. But we did our research. We knew we had to register. There are certain laws. So we found out from the people who are already doing it, where you had to register your product, what you're doing and all that. So we paid all those. In fact, that's where all our money first went before we started publishing. And so the first publication we did, that I said sold out, we were lucky because we could convince someone, a printer then, to allow us publish free of charge. We couldn't afford to pay for the paper, but he was convinced of our vision and said we should pay after, but we should commit to him that we will stay with him for at least 1 year before moving anywhere else. So you see, one thing I'm noticing in life is when you take a step along where your vision or your passion lies, it's as if people are waiting to help you. And that's what has always happened for me. Once I take a step in the direction that I'm convinced, the help comes along the way. When we started, we didn't have an office. The office that we had, it was not more than, it's not even a one room. It was just a space where some people were keeping furniture because the owners of the flat had moved out. So they gave us that room. So we had to settle ourselves in between the furniture and on the balcony because there was no space to sit. So we didn't have an office. And that place where we were was in between the area boys in Lagos Island. But do you know that experience we had then is what's helping me now? Because many of those area boys were so young then, they are now the area boys in Lagos. Now they are the older ones controlling everywhere. So I've known them for over 30 years or maybe 20 years. Can you imagine? So the boys who were supposed to cross over, they were living or having an office in their midst, they became known to me. And now they are the ones that are the so-called ones that used to harass people in Lagos. They are the people that I've always known, so they give me that respect, and so I can keep the peace. What I'm just trying to say that, look, if you take a step in the right direction of your conviction, God is there waiting for you, and people will begin to do things for you if you can convince them with your passion. That's it. I want to read the question here let me start from. It's on the chat. Somebody asked, how did you raise funding for bankers football competition as an entrepreneur? I think I said so. I said the first one we didn't start as bankers games, but eventually we got the banks paying to participate in our tournament. We made the presentation to the bankers, to the heads of all the banks, and said the bankers games is necessary and for their own benefit. And so for us to do it to the quality that they expect as bankers, they needed to give a token amount for us to service and increase the quality of that product. So and so we came to an agreement. And every time we needed to raise the value of their contributions, we called them again and we were quite open. I said, this is what we need, this is what we want to do. And they contributed. At one point, each bank in Nigeria was paying us 1 million naira in those days per bank to participate, apart from buying their kits and flying people in and all that stuff. And then again, like I said during my presentation that at a point we now started, because we had the bankers games, we had a platform where we could bring in advertising companies to come and advertise their products directly to bankers who are most of their target audience. And so they knew that, for example, if you bring a Mido, we allow them to set up booths at the venues. A wide range of products they could bring to the place, and they had to pay us also for it. So yeah, so as we increased that capacity, the volume of what we were doing was growing. I hope that answered that question, Said Olayinka. And Daniel Monday, I think I've already answered that question about how do you cope if you see needs, you have the right ideas to fill in, we don't have necessary resources. I'll say it every time I've said every time I've spoken anywhere, take this first step. Number one step is have a vision, write it down, keep it simple, think big, start small, scale fast. So if you have you see the needs, you have the ideas, write down your ideas. When you write down the research on those ideas, write down the plan you have to execute those ideas, and then take the first step, and you'll see what will happen. I've done it many times, and it hasn't failed me. Like I said, you will have sometimes it won't work, but on the long run, but more often than not, it works. It has worked for me anyway. As a young, Debbie asked that as a young entrepreneur, what do you need to get to your targeted audience? The right service and the right product. Research, read. How many of us read? Is anybody reading any book right now? You give yourselves time to think. Create time to think. I still do it. If you come to my office, I have a plaque that I had made. And the title of that on that plaque is just in big letters. Just think. So I've created my own schedules. So for example, I see only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you want to see me here in my office, you can see me anytime between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. without an appointment. But if you want to meet before or after those, or aside of those times, you must have an appointment, because I keep the other times free for myself to think. And it's in thinking that you can be thorough, and you can get through this research and the things you need to do to create a strong idea that you can now market for value. And this is easy. It's not easy. I knocked on many doors. I kept going from door to door, from company to company, agency to agency, until I got my break. But you will get a break. Olubumi Nasiru asked, good evening, sir. Why is it so hard to get corporate organizations to sponsor sports in Nigeria? One, the major reason is because, excuse me, excuse me. Sports is a venture that has both all three, immediate, medium-term, long-term values. The question is, you must know which value you are marketing or you want sponsorship for. And we found it extremely difficult to break the market, because people didn't even believe in sports. All they saw in sports were people who are participating in sports. But people don't know, or most people still don't know, that the tip of the pyramid is participation. But most money is made from the back end. People who have the rights, people who do the broadcasting, the guys who own the teams, who own the leagues, who own the content are the guys who make money. And in these modern times, content is king, just like it was then. So when you meet corporate organizations, you need to be able to show them the value you are going for. For example, for many years as a pundit on TV and radio, we didn't make any money. We're not paid any money. But I think we were the first set, myself, the Tinubu, but the Jomoto, but they would 3 years ago, were one of the first sets of people to be paid to talk on TV. So there's a process. But the main thing is that you have to be able to sell value to corporate organizations. Why would they want to give you money for free? Or just because they like sports? No. The organizations are set up to make money. So you must be able to sell them the value for the money that you want them to give you. And you must be able to keep on increasing and growing that value, so they keep seeing value in you. And Joy Pilots asks, as a young entrepreneur, what are the challenges you should expect and how do we handle them? The main thing you need as an entrepreneur is resilience, passion to keep going, never give up, keep researching, keep checking, keep looking for this, keep looking for solutions. Don't rest, read, think, ask questions, keep probing, keep developing, keep growing your capacity. I know how many courses I paid for myself locally, and I went abroad paid for by myself. Sometimes we didn't have money in the house. My wife will give me money to give me a ticket to go abroad to go for a course. And those are the kind of things that are paying off now. But I keep doing it. I keep researching. And now it's even easier. You go online. There are so many courses online. But how many of us do the research to find the courses? There are some that are very expensive. There are some that are quite cheap. There are many that are free, because there are different organizations now who have identified that the next frontier, whether you like it or not, is sports in Africa, especially Nigeria. We have the numbers. We lack capacity. But since 2020, when the government, some people fought and the government has now declared that sports is now a business and will begin to enjoy the benefits that other businesses have enjoyed, like tax breaks, tax incentives, all the what they call it, investment, government investment, and all that. Now, sports we should begin to enjoy what other places enjoy, like entertainment industry. They don't need government anymore, but there was a time when a break happened. So you need to go and do your research, find out what has been done in sports, the kind of policies that have been approved, the kind of government, the kind of allowances government has made to ensure that you can actually make a living and a fortune out of sports in Nigeria. And you don't need government for it, actually. You just need the platform that government provides, because especially you guys now, in 2020, like I said, sports has been declared as a business and not as an entertainment area. Good evening, sir. Adela. Good evening, sir. These people go online to get news than newspapers these days. As a media person, how can we create an online channel? That's easy. There are so many. YouTube. There are so many. I used to have a blog and blogs, but the question is, what do you put on your blog? It's not about the channel or the platform. It's what content are you putting on it? What's unique? What do you have that separates you from everybody else? And don't forget that you don't need everybody to be your clientele. You have to determine, do I need 10,000 people every month? Pay me 2 naira. Do I need 100,000 people every month? Pay me 1,000 naira. You have to set those parameters and develop content that you know can be consistently delivered to that audience or that number of people that will keep on deriving value that they want to pay for. So, and that's what we were doing. In those days, the online market wasn't strong. And even to get our content, we had to go online. We enter, go to what they call all those business centers and all that stuff. But now internet is available. But also as it's available, the number of people in the business are multiple or multiplied. So it's up to you to create fresh content, unique content, marketable content, valuable content. But it's up to you. Why must you go outside your area, for example? Many people, for example, have many radio licenses, but they couldn't use it over the years because after the cost of securing the license, they couldn't even develop the content for the radio station, for the cover. Why don't you just get a radio station that appeals to your local government or 3 or 4 local governments around you, that kind of thing. So you have to change your thinking so that you can develop the right products and services to help your online work. But it has to be unique enough to a certain number of people that will meet your targeted values. Who else? Fortune Investment, your hand raised, or that's from before.
Good evening once again.
Yes, please.
I earlier said that I didn't see any gap but that was a mistake because actually earlier on don't understand it because my network was bad, so I just jumped into your question then. But actually now I understood it right now because an entrepreneur should be able to see gaps. Gaps is all about, a room for development.
Yes.
A room to develop, like we're talking about sports now, and all that. So you did everything. It was very easy for me to understand right now. So I want to thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for being an interactive audience. Sammy, I think I'm done. Or class captain. Well, other people raising their hands. Is that Kenneth West?
Okay, so we still have Kenneth West and Anselm Wolobi. Please, Anselm Wolobi and Kenneth West, can you take turns to say your question? I am Fortune Best. Please drop your hands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the lecture. Yeah, I want to ask, when you started from the beginning, you made mention of like watching football game with your father. So I just want to know what really motivated you to start that drawing from that very beginning. What was your motivation?
Okay, like I said at the beginning that you need to identify gaps. So what happened was after watching the game and I was discussing in school with my friends, none of them had watched the match. So I just started drawing out of frustration that I couldn't watch the match. That nobody had watched the match. So I drew, I think, 2 of the goals, and then the person sitting next to me saw it And like, wow, and that kind of thing. As soon as he goes, I say yes. And the person next to him now said, can he buy it for 5 kobo? And that's what opened my eyes. You can buy my drawings for 5 kobo, just 1 page of drawings, swear exercise book. And so I just went home and started reproducing the drawings. I drew all the 4 goals from my memory and started selling in school. That's how it all started. Olabi, I hope I've answered the question.
Can I ask?
Sorry? Please go on.
Can I ask?
Yes, sir.
Sir, my question is direct. Was it just passion and reward for passion that has carried you from the small boy to the big man that you are now?
I'm not a big man. Well, yeah, it started from passion, but it's not exactly passion. First of all, I like football, like all other young children. So you find that you have similar traits to almost everybody else. So I like football. But I was, I think, luckier that my father liked football as well. I used to take me to watch matches, and we watch matches together. So it was that difference that I identified when I got to school, like I said, the next day, and I saw that my own friends did not watch the matches because their fathers didn't allow them to watch matches watch the match with them. And so they all knew eventually that it didn't matter whether they watched the match or not. By the next week, Sola would draw the goals or the highlights of that match for them that they could buy. Everybody used to have pocket money for school to buy lunch and what's it called. So from their lunch, I got a percentage of their lunch from almost everybody every week throughout my remaining time in school. So that was it. Yes, passion to watch football, that I love football, but the main thing was to identify the gap or the need that they all had and to develop what it was. And so eventually, it was also the passion that was pushing me. It was the money I was making that was pushing me to stay up at night, every night, 5 days a week, to produce the comics that I sold in school the next day. We okay? Hello, are we okay?
So let me proceed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are
just
okay.
passionate. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity and the time. And I hope I've been able to at least influence you a little bit positively. And I hope that I wish you well in all your endeavors. And please be brave. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid at all. Whatever is put in your heart, God puts in your heart. Confident that you can achieve it. But it didn't come there you didn't get there by chance. Everything is geared towards making you succeed, but you have to seize it. You have to pursue it. You have to be aggressive. You have to be passionate. You have to research, and you have to stick to it. Don't give up. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Remain blessed, sir.
And you too.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. While our lecturer leaves us, I want to take this opportunity to say I think it was a nice session here. And I want to indulge us, please. Let's put up our assignment and submit and look forward to our next session. That should be tomorrow, which I think timetable should be out by tomorrow. Thank you very much. And God bless you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Hello. Please, in the absence of nothing, please, I'm ending this class now. Thank you very much. We'll meet at the group chat. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.